Hello, everybody, and welcome to the SBL Guru podcast. I've got a very special guest in the studio here today. I've known Tom. I first met Tom in 1992 in Borough High Street in London. I flew him to Singapore to teach at the college where I was working so he could give his knowledge and guidance to people in Asia. He spent a lot of time with me traveling around Asia, giving lectures. Now he's got his own business, which is giving students the chance to pass SBR first time. I'd like to introduce Tom Clendon, a legend in the world of SBR. So, Tom, I know on your courses, you do a lot of marking. You know, I know you do a massive amount of marking. Based on what you see from the marking, could you just help those students who are doing SBR highlight what are the main mistakes that are being made by the SBR students?
Well, thank you, Marty. I love it when students make mistakes because that provides them with a learning opportunity to put it right, and they only know really they've made a mistake when it's marked. They get their feedback back. So there's no point in making a mistake if you don't know that you've made a mistake, because you then haven't got the learning opportunity. So some of the generic aspects in the early stages of marking are often to do with presentation, often to do with structure, often to do with not answering the question. I mean, there's a story that I tell verbally rather than on the feedback about my great nephew who lives around the corner, who's 3 years old. And little Louis has just learnt he's 3 years old, and he's just learnt his name is Louis. And I said to him the other day, "How old are you, Louis?" And his answer was, "My name is Louis." Now, technically, that is a correct answer in the fact that his name is Louis, but I gave him 0 marks. I failed him. So just writing down facts and writing down knowledge is not good enough to pass SBR. They have to answer the question. And they do that by question practice, and they learn that through the course.
So in terms of, I know a lot of it is, I mean, it's been a long time since I did any sort of financial accounting exams, but how much in depth do you need to know the standards? You know, do you need to be like a world expert on the standards, or is it something like you must have like a kind of broad knowledge? I mean, what's your take on it?
Breadth is better than depth. This is a 100-mark exam. Every mark is compulsory. You've got to be able to gain, a mark when it's a little 4-marker, 5-marker. You are not going to be given 20 marks on one accounting standard. You are not going to fail this exam because of the nth technical detail of financial instruments or impairment or whatever it is. Students need to be have a breadth, have that general knowledge, understanding of the principles, so they can apply it to the exam scenario. Now, I know you teach SBL, and I know you love SBL, and I know you think SBL is all about the real world and everything. Well, the same philosophy really applies in SBR as well, because the examiner puts you in front of a client and says, this is the problem. Now, the client doesn't want, and the examiner doesn't want, the Google answer of the definition of impairment. They want it related to their particular question. They want it related to their particular scenario. And you've got to know something about impairment and provisions and government grants and everything to answer the questions properly. So breadth is better than depth.
Now, that's an excellent answer. I think it's like common to all the ACCA exams as well, to a certain degree. So,
well, at the strategic professional level, absolutely. I think skills you get by with object testing, you get by with a bit of number crunching, so you get by with knowledge. I think at the strategic professional level, you have to think a little bit. You have to apply. You have to be a little bit outside the box. You have to understand that the question you're doing in the exam is different from the previous exam, because, you're approaching it from an upside down, inside out angle.
So I've got a question, which is like, I actually get asked this quite a lot, is a lot of ACCA now, and it's a bit of a controversial subject, they're giving away a lot of exemptions. So a lot of people have done a degree in maybe accounting, and they're getting a lot of exemptions. And obviously they may have been exempt F7, the earlier financial accounts paper. So what advice would you give to somebody? Maybe they've like done a degree. It's, they did that financial accounts in year 2, like there's possibly a year ago. And how do you do your course to reflect those people?
I want my students to pass the exam. Yeah, I want them to get a mark beginning with a 5. I want them to get the easy marks in the exam. So in my course, I effectively don't assume too much prior knowledge at all. I am prepared to teach the accounting standards that come up in SBR, even if they have come up previously at the lower level paper. So I will take you through goodwill, intangibles, provisions from the beginning, impairment from the beginning, even though they've been tested previously at the lower level. Because if there's a bell and a whistle, if there's a twist on impairment, which there is at SBR, there's no point in me teaching that twist unless people have got the basic grasp of it. Yeah. So in my course, I've had the opportunity to have a blank sheet of paper and to build a course that is not constrained by the bell going at 9 o'clock at night, and is not constrained by a textbook. It's exam focused. And if it comes up in the exam, I am teaching it. And if it means that for some people, when they come to my SBR course, there's some bits that they cut through like butter. If it means there's some bits which they find relatively easy, they should enjoy that. Yeah, that's a positive. That's a positive. And we can pick that low-hanging fruit. We can smash the basics. And if you've got the basics, then sometimes those tricky bits, actually, they're not that tricky because you're just extrapolating a little bit more, on your knowledge. So I teach SBR. I teach students to pass SBR. And that means I teach the basics as well.
So I know, Tom, that in the SBR paper, I mean, obviously my superior paper has 20 professional marks, but your inferior paper has only got 4. I mean, I think that's a reflection of the quality of the SBR exam. But can you
I think it's a reflection of the fact that SBR is a technical paper.
Yes.
So there's 96 proper marks. There's only 4 bullshit marks there's only 4 professional marks.
So what are the professional marks for? Is it like underlining and, what do you get professional marks for? Like, writing "Dear Sir"? And what are they for?
No, I mean, it's not for spelling. It's not for spelling.
Okay, thank God.
Thank God, absolutely. With no spell check on the practice platform, I can't spell to save my life. So in SBR, there are 4 professional marks, 2 in question 2 on the ethics and 2 in question 4 on this sort of investor focus. Generally speaking, those professional marks are given if the answer is complete, if the answer is reflective, if the answer is considered and structured, and specifically on the ethics side of it, if they're linking the case really well to the ethical principles.
Okay.
There's a little bit of a catchphrase. If you've got a good answer, if you've answered the question properly, you're going to get those professional marks because it looks like something you could hand in at work. But if you've got if you haven't got a conclusion, if it's all a bit of a mess, you're not going to get those professional marks. So the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Yeah, good answer is more likely to get professional marks.
In SBL as well. Actually, the marks are not for anything special. They're more for making sure you properly answer every aspect of the question that you were asked.
Yeah.
So Tom, I know that time management is a big thing for students, and some people suck at time management in the exam. If you've got a student, and this is kind of the final question in the diary of a CEO, there's always a killer final question. So in the exam, let's say, of course, I try to follow the Tom Clendon timing and do everything perfectly and do my minutes per mark. But let's say I've got 20 minutes left. Should I carry on with, thank you for the PQ award. Is that for the lecturer of the year?
No, the lecture of the year is this one actually.
Okay.
This one was for the podcast of it. Anyway, carry on. Sorry, Marty. I put you.
Okay.
We were
I
talking
was
about.
actually nominated for the podcast of the year,
You
but
were.
they gave it to a company called Kaplan. Never heard of them. So if you've got 20 minutes left and you're in the middle of a consolidation, should you try to get every last nuance of mark on the console question because you're pretty good on it, or should you start that final question? What's your guidance for those students who are in that sort of, because not everybody's got perfect timing, right?
Not everybody has got perfect timing, and certainly not everybody has got perfect knowledge. I hope the scenario that you were painting there was in a mock examination, because if that scenario is being painted in a real exam, if you're halfway through a question with 20 minutes to go and you've got another whole question to go for, I'm sorry, yeah, you've really messed up, right? You've really messed up. There's an absolute golden rule which I'm obsessed with, which is about moving on. Just move on. Perfection is overrated. You know, you've got a 5-mark question. You've written 4 things. That's probably enough. One of them's wrong, but you still get 3 out of 5 to squeeze that last mark out. So you set me up for that question, and the answer is, yeah, start the next one, because there is low-hanging fruit at the beginning of the next question, and it's harder when you're squeezing that orange, when you're squeezing that fruit to get the last juice out of it. Yeah. And if you've got to be marked out of 100, you've got to be marked out of 95 to pass this examination, because it's brutal. Time management is so important.
So JMO, just move on, is the kind of thing you've got to remember from this podcast. Just move on. Now, Tom, I know many people know you, but some people may not. How do we find you? How do we find out about your course? Is there? I know you have a podcast. I know you have got a YouTube channel. Where do we find those links? And we'll obviously put it in the podcast description. But if anybody's listening and they're on their phone listening, how do we find you?
Well, my name is Tom Clendon, Clendon. And if you Google search me, Tom Clendon, Clendon, and put next to it ACCA or next to it SBR, you will find my courses, you will find my YouTube channel, you will find my LinkedIn, you will find my podcast. I am active socially on the internet, and I do a lot of stuff that's out there, you know, for free. And I also help students who enroll on my courses. That's where the marking comes in. That's where the full course comes in. That's where the pass assurance comes in. That's where the WhatsApp comes in. You know, if you want to sign up with me, fantastic. If you just want to listen to my podcast, my YouTube channel, you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. And please spread the word.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say to all podcasters, you know, and people who do podcasts on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I know it's an often heard phrase, but it massively helps us. We don't charge for our free material, but whatever you're doing, please like and subscribe, because it makes a difference. It makes us more visible, and it allows our free stuff to get to people all over the world. So please like and subscribe to myself, Tom's, and Tom's podcast. Thanks very much, Tom. It's been a really amazing podcast, and yes, welcome to the PQ Lecturer of the Year. And also, just like to state for the record that me and Tom both work for a company called FME, who provide all the back-end services like the practice platform, and they have just won the Online College of the Year. So where me and Tom, the college that provides all our back-end services, they have just won the Online College of the Year. So they're also a PQ Award winner. Thanks very much, Tom.
All right. Thanks, Marty. Good to chat.